Okay, Coach. I guess when Coach Ostrander brought you over, and everybody knows that Coach Ostrander is a pitching coach, and he brings over another pitching coach, everybody's kind of like, man, is Coach Oz going to take a step away from pitching? And obviously that wasn't ever the truth.
No.
But when I talked to Oz about, the reason for bringing you over, he talked a lot about how he's kind of an old school pitcher and you're kind of the new age, pitching coach. And so can you just describe from your own words about how y'all two have developed pitchers and kind of, the chemistry between y'all?
Yeah, I think, and he said that a couple of times. I think the cool thing for me, at least, is while I am younger, I grew up, the people that influenced me in my career, in my coaching career and playing career, were very like-minded to him, and Coach Robe and Coach Cicchini and many other people that I came across and I learned from, and so we think very similarly. And so, while maybe I have a little more experience with the tech and the analytics and some of those things, when it gets down to it, a lot of times we're on the same page, which I think is cool. And I think the good thing and what makes Coach Oz so elite, and he's been one of the best in the country for a long time, is, while maybe he's not, a master in that category as far as analytics and those things, he knows you need it, and he knows it needs to be applied and used as far as development and for success on and off the field. And he's kind of let me do my thing with that, and so it's been a really cool marriage thus far between us.
What would you say is like the number one thing you've learned from him?
A lot of people have asked me that, like, what's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
I think for me, man, it's the simplicity of it. There's not I wouldn't say there's a quote unquote secret sauce. I think he does a really good job of communicating with the guys, whether it be one-on-one in a bullpen, whether it be a small group of them or the unit as a whole. I think he's very in the moment with them. He communicates well. He's honest. And I think more than anything, he's consistent. And I think in today's day and age, those kids need that. They know what they're going to get, and so it allows them to show up and apply themselves and do the work they need to do, knowing who he's going to be, right, and who I'm going to be, and allows them to just create some consistency in their life and their day-to-day, and then I think you see it on the field. And it's been that way his whole career. He's been one of the best.
What is one thing you think you've taught him?
Oh, Lord. I don't know about that. He does lean on me some as far as the analytics and some of the tech and some of those things, from getting his email set up on his phone to as far as pitch design and some of the things that we do, as far as that's concerned, whether it be grading and some of the things we've done with his off speed or Colby or really, a handful of our guys that I think we've been able to help and progress, whether it be an individual pitch or the arsenal as a whole. And then I think it'll be interesting. I still really haven't, he kind of let me go in the fall as far as calling pitches and doing those things and running it. I'm very interested to see. I know I'm going to learn a lot from him in game, as far as how he manages lineups and how he calls pitches. And I know he'll lean on me to kind of help manage the bullpen and organize the game and things like that. But I think it'll be a great learning experience for me to be a part of that and see how he operates in that setting.
Can you talk about Colby and just obviously fastball slider guy, but y'all wanted to add that third pitch this season, and feel like you definitely did it from what I saw.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah, I think everybody will see that. I think from my understanding, again, my sample size of him is very small. Seen him as a reliever, and he's been elite in every aspect of that, and doing it with two pitches. I think they've tried to chase that changeup down a handful of times, and for a guy like him that favors that side of the ball, and that slider is so elite, it's hard for those guys to get inside the ball and pronate, and so a lot of them are on the outside of the ball. And so as far as that's concerned, usually that's just a grip thing. For me, it was just giving him a grip to where he didn't have to get through the inside of the ball, and he could just rip through that. And it's kind of a variation of a split change, Balkan change type grip that we discussed really quickly over the course of the first couple weeks, and he ran with it. And he's done a great job of continuing to progress it. It continues to get better and better, and even this week, man, it looked better than when he left, in the fall. So he looks great. Obviously, rock star human, great kid, and I'm happy for him and excited to see him have the opportunity to start.
Graydon Harris had such a breakout season as a freshman, and expecting big things from him in his sophomore season.
Yeah, no doubt. Graydon is extremely talented. I was familiar with him just because he's from the Louisiana area and not far from me down there. Always been extremely talented. Has some unique analytics with his release and kind of how the ball comes through the zone. And obviously there's velocity there from a lefty. He's always kind of chased some of those secondary pitches as well. And so we kind of added a cutter, kind of tried to find something in between the big sweeper slider that he throws and kind of has always thrown, and just trying to get him to commit to that breaking ball and that release. And the cutter honestly has kind of helped the slider as well. And then the changeup has come along. I think that's something he's always somewhat had a feel for, but it was more the breaking pitches that we were focused on. And he's done an exceptional job. Obviously extremely talented. It wasn't a feel thing or a proprioception. He's got elite feel to be able to, maneuver his hand around the ball. And again, that was a pretty easy 1 to 2 week kind of messing with some grips, working some cues, and he just took off and ran with it. And so he's kind of found his own little way between both of them. And like I said, I think the cutter you'll see will be mid to upper 80s, 90 maybe. And I think you've seen that slider work from, low to mid 70s, and be a little bigger and slower. You see some that he throws in the 80s, 82s that are tough to hit. So I'm excited for him, man. Like I said, he's a great kid. And I think, they've done such a good job here for so long. You see the guys get here, they throw, 10 to 20 innings as a freshman, they throw 60 to 70, then they throw 80 to 90, and then they're off into pro ball, and that's a testament to Coach Oz. I think you'll see a big jump from him.
I was talking with McCarty English, and it feels like he just feels great and is ready to get out there. Got the screw out of his arm and everything. Feels like he could be a breakout player this season that nobody's really talking about.
Yeah. I think for McCarty, and again, my sample size is small. I watched him from afar last year in some relief roles. Talent, I don't think was ever the issue for McCarty. Elite fastball, velocity's there. Again, kind of like Graydon, has some uniqueness to his release and his extension and some of his ball flight metrics. I think the big thing for him is he's healthy, man. And I think that's allowed him to be consistent day in and day out. He knows what he can get out of his body. And so I think that's just allowed his secondary stuff to progress, right? The fastball's always been there. I think the splitter's always been there too. He's always had a pretty good feel for that. With him, it was kind of chasing that breaking ball, whether it be a slider or a curve, and we've kind of landed more on a curve ball. It's firm. It's more like a power curve type pitch that has swing and miss potential, and I think you saw that some this fall if you were able to watch him pitch. So I'm excited for him, man. Again, he's one of the best kids I've ever been around, hard worker, and I think that's a lot of our guys. We've got a really good group of guys. They work hard. They want to be good, I think for McCarty, it's just being able to know what he's going to get out of his arm and his body and how he's going to feel. I think has kind of freed his mind a little bit.
Is this one of the best freshman classes you've ever seen for pitching?
Yeah, I've only seen 3 as a coach, but definitely one of the more talented ones for sure. I think Sam, obviously Cade Durbin's not going to be able to be a part of it with the arm injury, but all of them, man. Andrew Visconti, Sam Mitchell, Dylan Causey, Bruce Littleton, even some that you may not see a ton this year, are still extremely talented, and so I think that'll be the interesting thing to see, and Coach will have some options as far as how he wants to piecemeal this thing together and who fits where. I think we're very dynamic and we're very different. All of them are very different, which will be good, and it'll be tough to navigate for a lineup. I think as far as these freshmen are concerned, you may not see the sample size that you could or should see from some of them just because we are so deep, but they are extremely talented.
Awesome. All right, favorite food, favorite movie, favorite candy?
Favorite food. I feel like I have to say something Louisiana, like crawfish
there
or
you
something.
Go.
Yeah. I like a good crawfish etouffee, something like that. So his favorite food, favorite movie?
Favorite candy.
Favorite candy.
Yep.
I like sugary stuff, so I'm like, like a Sour Patch, something like
Everybody
that.
said Sour Patch so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The watermelon, they're the Sour Patch, but the watermelon ones, I like those. Favorite movie? Favorite movie? I'm not a big thriller. I don't like to be scared.
Yeah, me neither.
So I like comedy. I like Wedding Crashers is a classic.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'd probably say Wedding Crashers.
Okay.
That's a good one.